growing up in Windsor in the summertime, you know, that's where we all started. We started our day at the ball diamond. And a lot of times we ended our day at the ball diamond. There were a few times I know when my mother even brought me lunch over to the ball diamond because, you know, that's where I was.
Well, I'm going back, you know, there's a lot of hotbeds of baseball around. But, you know, I think the first team was 1902, and there's been a team here ever since. And you didn't have much to do back then. Of course, now you got cars and TV and everything, and just the situation. My God, you got a ball field right in the middle of a town. So they used to draw, you know, great crowds, and you know, it was the focus of this town. And growing up as kids, I mean, we lived here in the ball field. You know, one of the best games we played is we used to, if you could have 10 kids here, and right out beyond second base, right at the edge of the infield there at second base, we would take a gumball and a bat, and let's say you had 10 kids, you'd have 5 on each team. We'd play a game called Home Run Derby, in which you would have a pitcher, and then the other 4 players would stand, you know, out against the wall, and then the pitcher would throw the ball into the batter, and if you hit it over the wall on a fly, it was a home run. If you rolled one against the wall, it was a single. If it bounced off the wall, if you hit it and it bounced off the wall, it was a double. If you hit a line drive, a fly ball off the wall, it was a triple. But if they prevented the ball from hitting the wall, it was an out, and you got 3 outs.
The big thing was really the wall. Hitting a ball over that wall was what all of us wanted to do at one time or another. So a lot of times when we played ball, we would have home plate be at second base so that we could, you know, reach the wall. And I know a lot of guys even kept track of how many balls they hit over there in the summertime. A few of them even broke Babe Ruth's record.
And there were some legends, you know, in Home Run Derby that never really played baseball after that, you know, but they were legendary Home Run Derby players, but they probably never even played for Windsor after that. But they were sort of legendary figures around town if you were the home run king, you know, in the Home Run Derby. But that was, we just lived over here all the time, you know. In the fall, we'd play football out there. You know, it was just a focus. And you know, baseball was big in Windsor because it's been around so long, and it was people, you know, Tuesday, Thursday night, Saturday afternoon, you went to the ball game. Hey, look at this. This is what we got now.
Oh yeah.
We got a spoon, we got a knife, we got a screwdriver, and we got a can opener. Now, if you can't get the bases in with all that equipment, you're fired.
It's normally not this bad. But yes, we normally have to do some digging and remove dirt from the hole with a spoon or whatever other object we can find.
Joe, why don't you get down there and warm Stouty up a while? Hey, he's got to throw off the mound first then. Come on in here a second. Now look, we sort of got low on balls at the end of the year, so we got to put a lot of new balls in here for batting practice and that, so we don't have to, it don't hit off the screen and foul back into the creek. All right, Troy, you can use them good ones if they ain't in a wrap.
Where's that at, Joe?
All right, turn it around this way. Didn't go in the creek, but I went across the creek. All right, here's the big predicament. How we gotta get across the creek? Hey, Ronk. All right, and figure out how to get that. Okay. All right, we're gonna bat in the same order again. You're gonna stand up at the plate this time, and I'm gonna throw them in. Don't worry about blasting them away in there. Just get the soreness out of you. Get some swings and get that soreness out of you a little bit. Look at that. Don't throw all year and still in the groove. One more, Zach. So we got about 3 or 4 guys missing tonight. We got like 3 more in college. We got one playing for York College and one playing for Shippensburg. Our ball bag.
The pine tar, I got a little bit of it.
Oh, okay.
How'd that happen?
We used to
exploded?
No, it just leaked out. You know how we used to have a ball bag?
Yeah.
Now we got a ball box. We lose many of balls in this creek. I mean, you see where the macadam path is there, coming down? There's a creek under that. I mean, you talk about, you know, Three River Stadium out Pittsburgh, where 2 creeks formed to form one. We basically had the same thing here. This was always an open creek, just like this is, up until maybe 20 years ago when they put piping and they put dirt over it and put that macadam path there. Up until about, I think they probably did that maybe in the 80s sometime. Kids will dam it up. We had practice one time down here, and kids just love playing this creek, the town kids. Well, I come across the thing one time, the bridge there, and this kid was playing in the creek. And he had a piece of string running across the creek, up onto that branch, and hung down from the branch a little bit, and there was a rock tied on the end of it. Yeah, a pretty good sized rock. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm booby trapping it." He says, if some other kid comes walking down through here and trips that string, that rock might drop down on him. I said, all right. I mean, he really had a real, you know, a real system there, you know. But they're always trying to catch minnies in the creek. If you get out in the Craley, this eventually turns into, you know, a very big trout stream down around the Craley area. You got Craley Fish and Game down there, and you know they stock fish eventually in this creek as it gets much bigger.
Ever since I was a little kid, probably, well, all my life. I'll soon be 69 years old, so I followed him for quite a few years. We lived on Main Street, and when we were working out in the yard, you could hear them. That was in the Twilight League. You could hear them practicing up there. At that time, they practiced. The days they didn't play, they practiced. So if you didn't show up for practice, you didn't play. So it was quite. And there were times that I was at games here already when we had the old grandstand down here, that they had 1,500 people. When they played Redline, it was quite a rivalry. When it was a 2 o'clock game, if you didn't show up at 9 o'clock in the morning to get a blanket down or get an aerial on here, you stayed back. There were very few games that you didn't have at least 200, 250 people. It was quite a rivalry, all the teams, and there were some really good ball players that played there over the years. Like I say, I was born and raised here. We used to mow this field by hand with not power mowers, with the old reel type hand mowers. There was the dirt area just like in the Major League, the rest of it was grass. And there was an old guy that lived over on Main Street over here. His name was Elge Gamble. He drug the infield for him. I think it's still maybe laying over there, a steel disc that they had made up to drag the infield. And over the years, they drug it out further and further, and that's why that little bit of a bump from the infield to the outfield is in there. They drug the sand and the clay And eventually they did away with the grass part of the infield. But when we were kids, it was a privilege for you. We actually hand raked the infield, the dirt part of the infield, and God forbid that before a game you should go out there and put a footprint on that before the game started. I mean, once they were done taking infield practice and things like that, you went out and you raked all the footprints out, and nobody should walk on it until the game started. But it's a different era now. We had athletes that played ball, a lot of athletes that played ball here. I don't know of one prima donna like we have in the major leagues now. It's unfortunate, you know. Those guys played for the love of the sport. Now, I don't know for a fact that there was always rumors that certain players were getting paid to play in the Susquehanna League and in the Twilight League. I don't know that for a fact, but I know these guys here are not getting paid, and they're playing for the love of the sport. Some of these are the guys I saw play, like Newman. I knew him from when he played football at Red Line High School. And Wilson, some of these ball players here at Windsor have been around with the club for a long time. Nate, his dad was a very good friend of mine. Wilmer, him and I fished together, hunted together. It's quite a, like you say, we're really fortunate that the borough can maintain this and keep it the way it is now. But I did play a lot of ball on here when we were kids, but I always had there were 7 kids in our family, and I had 2 jobs, plus until I was 18 years old, I delivered newspapers here in town. And that wasn't with a vehicle. We started out down on Main Street with a bag of newspapers on each shoulder. You walked till the newspapers ran out. You walked back down and got 2 more bags, and that's the whole way around Windsor. And you did that rain, snow, it didn't matter. Kids, and listen to another thing, I did that 6 days a week, morning and evening, for $12 a week. I delivered 365 papers in the morning for $1, 367 in the evening for $1. You try to get the kids to deliver 1 paper for $1. Windsor's no different than any of the other teams in the Susquehanna League. They're all the same way. You know, you put together the best team you can, the way that you think you can make a winner out of them.
The field actually is Wilmer Neff Field at Laux Memorial Park. Now the park includes this and the park over here. Now Laux is Jakey Laux. He's the guy who used to live in center field, in that house in center field. He's the guy that lived there, Jakey Laux. I think he donated the ball field. He owned this land eventually. He owned this land. And then I think he donated the field to the borough. The wall, I think, might have been put up in the 1930s. We sell these wall ads. This wall actually makes money for the ball team. We have a guy, this Brookside Motors, Primo Pizza is a local guy here. This Keystone Insurance, or Kochman Insurance Group, he's a friend of mine. He coaches football with me. Dayhuff's Landscaping, he's right up the alley here. State Farm Insurance is my insurance agent. Grove Sporting Goods, that's where we get all of our bats and equipment. There's Hefner Funeral Home, Line Auto. Paul Klein, he's my chiropractor. Cape Horn Beverage, half the time I think we keep them in business during the season. After a game or something, we need a case of beer or something like that. Windsor Service Center, he's the only service station in town across the street. And Lawyer's Pharmacy. And of course the last one is one I'm most proud of, is my dad. And the field's named after him, and the park's named after Jakey Lau.
I could not think of anything better to happen to him than have his name up there. He really, when he was a youngster or a young man, he didn't really have a chance to play. He came from a large family. He worked a lot.
My dad, he's also in the Hall Hall of Fame, Susquehanna League Hall of Fame. Never played an inning for Windsor. Always probably wanted to.
But he really took the game serious. He knew the game of baseball. He played some when he was younger, but once he went to the Navy, and he came out of the Navy and got married, and he didn't really have a chance to play, but he knew as much about baseball as anybody I've ever seen.
He grew up in Spry, my dad did, and there was 12 in his family. There was 4 boys and 8 girls, and he always wanted to play baseball, but it just wasn't, he sort of had to work.
He could look at a guy and look at his stance and tell if he was a good hitter or not. He knew all the players, and everybody from every town that we went to play knew him because he was just such a sociable and friendly guy. He wasn't afraid to talk to anybody.
He was always a league officer. He would always go to meetings for Windsor. He'd always take the collection up down here. We used to always say it used to take Dad 3 or 4 innings to take up the collection because, you know, he knew everybody from the opposing teams, all the fans, and of course he knew our fans. And when you sent Dad to take a collection up, he was usually gone for a while because he'd talk to everybody.
Nate, his dad, was a very good friend of mine. Wilmer, him and I fished together, hunted together.
He would give me advice occasionally, and I know he told me one time that I was crouching too low when I was up to bat, and he told me that I should stand straight up because that's the way Ted Williams did it. And I really didn't listen to him for a game or two, and I wasn't doing too well, so I thought, well, I think I'll give that a try. And the first time I tried, I hit one over the fence for a home run. And I told him, I said, well, I guess what you said worked.
My dad wanted to try out for the local baseball team in Spry. So he knew his mom and dad didn't want him to. So I think he got his gear together one night, his glove and hat and all that. And my grandmother was always sitting down in the living room, so rather than trying to sneak out, he opened up a window on the 2nd floor and jumped out and broke his arm. So they found out about it. So he never did play baseball.
He told me many times he would rather go see Windsor play Felton than the Orioles play the Yankees. It just meant so much to him.
Well, down the right field line there, we take a straight line back to the creek, and the creek's out of play. But there's a line that runs across here, and basically now from here on out the creek's out of play. Okay. So I mean, if you're a right fielder and you're coming over here, you could catch a ball. And I played right field many years down here. You run over there and catch a ball and fall in the creek. Well, you probably made the catch and you got an out, but you just fell, you know, probably 6 feet down into the creek out there. Wall, I think, might have been put up in the 1930s. Where the wall stops out there, there's a little wall. You see that little wall? That's actually a creek behind there. Now, the reason they put the wall up was to prevent, or in the early days, was to prevent guys from falling in the creek. But that is why this, I guess it used to be a creek many, many years ago. And that's probably why they eventually built this wall. Now that wall was torn down probably 6-7 years ago, and they put a new cement block wall up. So anything going in that creek out there on a fly is a home run, over the creek's a home run, bouncing into the creek or over the creek's 2 bases. And then the biggie is the barn there in center field. Like I said, we run a red fence from the corner of the barn over to the creek, and from the other corner of the barn up to the house. So anything over that red fencing is a home run. Anything over the barns is a home run. If it hits the house, it's a home run. Okay, but if it hits off the top of the barns and comes back into play, you play it. But if it hits off the top of the barns and goes in the red fencing area, that's a home run then. Okay. Then you got the carport, that's a macadam carport. Anything hitting behind that white wall and that carport on the fly is a home run. We'll put up 2 red cones here, here and here. So if a ball ever rolls up in here, that's 2 bases. If it hits behind the cones on a fly, it's a home run. And then in left field, the road in left field is High Street. Any ball hitting on the road on a fly is a home run. If it rolls up on the road, it's 2 bases. But if it hits those trees out there in left field, I mean, you could hit a heck of a blast, but if it hits those trees, and these are the trees now, they look pretty harmless now, but in the middle of summertime when they're in full bloom, you know, balls can come out, and like I said, we say if it goes through if it hits the road on a fly, it's a home run. If it's hit these trees, it comes down like this brush over here. You got to go dig it out. You know, and that's happened. And in fact, that happened just this year. The other team really, the left fielder really didn't know the ground rules, and a ball was hit out there, and it hit in the trees, and it just dropped down in some of that brush out there. And they looked at it, but they didn't know to go get it. And our guy Nate Newman, our big home run hitter, he just circled the bases for a home run. You know, so that's how it was. Now this here was just done this year. This is cement. They had to put this in to prevent the road from washing out. Now we haven't had a ball come out here and hit off this yet. You know, we just would play it, but you know, to keep the road from falling in, they had to do this. Put this cement down. A lot of people sitting under that tree, you know, during a game. And the way we call that, as far as the ground rules is if a ball's hit out there and it goes into the fans, it's automatic 2 bases. If a pop-up's hit over there, you go over and catch it and run over the fans. You just got to do anything you can, you know, that's how it is. This fence was put up here years ago. The reason it's out so far is there's a sewer line that runs down here. And the fence has to be so far away from the sewer line. I think it's 4 feet. So that's why the fence was put, you know, so far in. Turkey pens, yes. The turkey pens were right in front of the road out there. There was like 3 of them.
Well, there was turkey pens in left field, which sometimes had turkeys in them. And so we had to have a rule about if a ball went over the turkey pens or went under the turkey pens or got stuck in the turkey pens. Sometimes it was 2 bases, sometimes it was a home run. And sometimes when you were playing out there were actually turkeys in the turkey pens.
Now I did talk to a guy the other week. His name was Sonny Poff. He played down here at Windsor for a year or 2. He played left field, and I asked him, I said, what happened, did they have a fence in front of the turkey pens? He said, no. He says if they hit a ball out there, it went under the turkey pens, you had to go under there and get it, and there was a lot of, let's say, turkey waste under there. You had to go in and dig the ball out, and he said, man, you'd run under there, and those turkeys you'd stir them turkeys up, they'd be gobbling all, you know.
And when a ball hit up against them, why, they all gobbled.
You know, you'd hit a ball off of it. You know, you'd hit a ball at the front of the pen, man. You'd stir them all up, and yeah, it was quite a scene. But the last thing I know is the spark plug. So I go home and get my spark plug wrench, you know, and bring it down. Well, it just slips on it. It's too big. So Luke King, he's our first baseman and pitcher. He has a motorcycle. He works on motorcycles all the time. So I told him to bring his tools down. We'll pull that spark plug out and check it. Maybe, you know, I don't know if we can prime or no. We can't get the spark plug. Put new gas in. So, and I brought this spark plug wrench down. And
not too big?
Too big.
All right, a look here, guys.
So Luke, is this part of like spring training?
I guess you could say that. Seems to be a ritual.
Well, usually the battery's usually dead in it. Like this morning, we even tried jumping it, but then we determined that ain't the problem. Would you think? Or do we have enough juice getting there? Or
It sounds, I mean, it's getting weaker, but that should definitely.
do you think it's a fuel filter?
I don't know. I don't know. What's my screwdriver?
Down at the corner of the fence. It's good to there. 5 or 6 years probably I've come down and helped them. Well, actually I played here a couple years ago, so that's probably how we started. Then Nate fired me and I had to go find somewhere else. Pull it a little snug and I think it'll straighten that right out. That heavier string this year really worked better. Corner of home plate past the bases to the foul lines. So when we paint our foul lines, they're exactly straight. Take it as high as you can. Try to get it straight out. Pull it tight this way. Lift it up as high as you can get.
Well, I don't know if this is how they do it in any other place, but this is how we do it at Windsor.
First base looks pretty good this year.
Holy crap. Spent most of our time there when we were kids. We'd make up our own games, of course. Usually what they called a gum ball or softball, rubber ball, you know. We make up teams and then stand out at second base and hit them over the fence. Well, you know, at those times we didn't have much television and that kind of stuff to take up your time, and we spent most of our time playing ball there. It used to really be something out there. We used to, especially when we played Red Line, when the Twilight League team played Red Line, we really gathered attendance over there. I mean, and loud and rooting and swearing and going on. I guess kids aren't interested anymore like you. I mean, we used to have baseball for boys, you know, and we got to the place where we couldn't get enough to have a program like that. We used to have a man who had a little store down there, Bob Sherry, his name was, and he was a terrific rooter. He would stand as close as he could to the ball field, there where the fence is, you know, and holler at him. And I think he won some games for Windsor, because if he had a man on first base, he'd say, there he goes, you know, try to get the catcher to throw the ball or something, or pitcher, get him riled up. And then when the umpires made a bad call, damn up the creek, we're going to throw him in the water. I was never that good a player. I played for what they called the second team, junior team. We were in the Susquehanna League at one time. Some of us didn't even have our own gloves. And I remember one time a friend of mine, Herman Snyder, he had a glove, and I'd borrow his glove, and it wasn't the greatest glove anymore. And I said, I'm going to throw this darn thing in the creek. And he kind of dared me to do it, and I did it. I did have a home run or two, but I think only about 2 or 3 I ever hit over the fence. I was not a hard hitter, but I started hitting left-handed so I could get him over the right field fence. Well, I remember back when Windsor really had a good Twilight League team. I believe they won the pennant in 47, 48. And one of their players would hit, I remember hitting a ball that house out there in the center field, it hit about halfway up in that house. Although I hear that
one of the two of the players they have now actually hit up in the roof of that house, or over the house.
I think this land was purchased in 1902. The field was laid out then. And a grandstand was then built maybe a few years after that. It was sort of like the facility for baseball in York County. It was a real hotbed.
Growing up in Windsor in the summertime, and almost all the time, that's where we all started. We started our day at the ball diamond, and a lot of times we ended our day at the ball diamond.
You didn't have much to do back then. Of course, now you got cars and TV and everything, and just the situation. My God, you got a ball field right in the middle of a town, and so they used to draw, great crowds, and it was the focus of this town. And growing up as kids, I mean, we lived here in the ball field.
There were a few times I know when my mother even brought me lunch over to the ball diamond because, that's where I was. That was where we spent all our time. The grandstand, of course, was a great place to meet because it had a roof on it, so if it was raining, you could still kind of hang around over there.
And then that original grandstand was then torn down and expanded maybe like in 1930. And then that old grandstand had a locker room in it, had showers.
We, a lot of times, would actually, we'd get into underneath the grandstand where the locker rooms were. And they actually had showers in there. And there were not really lockers, but kind of like almost like a stall where the guys, I guess, would come in there and change into their uniform, and after the game was over, go take a shower and change into their street clothes. Of course, nothing like that goes on nowadays in local baseball. A lot of them had their names written above, and we would go in there and just look at those names, and it was really amazing how we looked up to those guys because they were Windsor baseball players, and that was pretty important.
Where we lived, there was a ball player that lived right across the street by the name of Lonnie Fry. We used to call him Pin. He used to pitch for us. Now, he was much older than I was. I only played with him for maybe 2 years in the early 70s. But Sam used to say, he told me last night, he said, I remember, we'd be over here playing at night or something like that, and we'd see Pin Fry, not playing ball, just over here in the field screwing around. We'd see Pin Fry come over with a bar of soap and a towel, and because he lived right across the street from us. We knew he had a bathtub, but we didn't think he had a shower. But he'd come over here and take his showers, after work, with a bar and soap and towel. He'd bring over here and go in the locker room and go back and take a shower. And that grandstand was torn down probably, I think it was 1983. I started playing here in 1970, so my first 12, 13 years I played here was when the original grandstand was up.
We just spent our entire summer there, really. It was a great place to meet and to play ball or play football in the wintertime. Our elementary school was right alongside the ball diamond. So at recess, we were on the ball diamond. At lunchtime, we'd go home for lunch and eat lunch real quick and come back and play ball again. So we spent almost all our time there. And it was a really great place to grow up.
It was getting hard to keep it up. It was falling apart. And, the wood was rotting out of it. So the borough made the decision to tear it all down and then put up what you see today.
Nothing. Three. Get one.
We played for it down here a couple years ago, and we played a couple years over the York-Anna field. Mainly down here because 2 years ago we started having an older team. It's like the third year having a 14 to 16 team. Before that we just went up to 13-year-olds. And we lost a lot of players when we'd be like 12 or 13. They'd start leaving because we didn't have an older team. And coming down here, they have the 90-foot bases, where our field up there behind the township building where all the younger teams play, it doesn't have the bases or the pitcher's mound for the older kids. And I remember playing here when I was younger too. So we're familiar with the field, and we really came down to the borough because, you know, the bigger kids, they're playing on the 90-foot bases and the 60-foot pitcher's mound like the men's team play on. When I was 14 and 15, I played at Windsor Township. So I remember playing here. Actually, back then, Windsor Township had a team and Windsor Borough had a team. Like now, we play county-wide. I remember when I was younger, we played, it was a smaller league. It was like Coonrads, Felton, Windsor Borough, Windsor Township, and Red Lion had had their own league then, because that's who I remember playing. So we played here. It was the old wooden bleachers were around it. And then I played a little Susquehanna League when I got out of the service. And of course, the men's, I played Felton, and I remember playing Windsor here a few times. So, you know, the field's been around a long time, and I guess a lot of stuff's happened down here. I remember the wooden grandstands because I remember one game when I was 15, my sister showed up, and for some reason she had a camera, and she actually has a couple pictures, and I remember her up in the old wooden bleachers and stuff when I was playing for Windsor Township many moon ago. Most of the fields in this league, unless you're playing at a high school field, you're going to have a dirt infield because a grass infield is just so hard, you know, it takes a lot of work to maintain. The thing is with the dirt, you know, the Dymatech, the type of dirt we use, it holds a good bit of water and you can still play on it. But once it gets saturated, you know, once it gets to the saturation point, it's like a mud pit, and you don't want to be on it because it's slippery and dangerous. So it has its advantages and disadvantages as far as that goes. What I hate worst is you get so many foul balls in that creek, and once it's in there, you know, they're done for the game. What I do is I take them home, I actually wipe them down, put them in the oven for about 2 hours at about 200-300 degrees, and that dries them out and you can use them. You obviously can't use them for a game ball anymore, but as you see batting practice, I move them right back up against the backstop, because if not, everything they hit up goes into the creek. It's very rarely you get something hit over this fence on this side and it's not in the creek. So.
Oh, got it.
Got him up. You just have to expect that, and the wife expects half a dozen baseballs to be in the oven the next day. I don't know a lot about it, but I had a player a couple years ago who played for me. His dad lives up in there, and he pretty much says he's learned when the men's team is here, he takes his car and moves it out on the road because he's had enough hits, enough things out there that he knows to get his vehicle out of that alley, or he's could have a chance of having some damage. Stop, we're covering second. Pitcher and first base, we're going to cover him first, okay? What you're going to do, get the guy to run down. We always want to push him hard back to the previous base, okay? Even if he gets back there safely, at least he got nowhere, okay? Especially a good fast runner, 2/3 of the time, they're going to get that next base on. You got a volunteer? Hop over there.
Yeah, buddy.
Huh? Yeah, I want you at short for this. Jesse, I want you at second for this drill right now. Mike, you at third. Chad, you got to get over to first then. All right.
It's either the gray house or the white house next to it. I'm not sure. But I know that gentleman. I don't know him personally. I wouldn't know him if he walked up here. I don't know him. I think he bought that house maybe in 1990. But we were playing a game over here one time, maybe 5-6 years ago, and I'll never forget a guy from Jacobus hit a home run during the game.
When the kids are out there, well, anytime when they're out there, really when they're playing day or night, why, most of the time we don't let the kids out in the yard. We did up until that ball came clear across the wall and across my garage and almost hit the little girl. Then we didn't let them out anymore when they were playing. It's like when I called the coach that time, me and him got in an argument. So I brought up the fact about them bouncing ball off my garage, which I sided it. And he said I should have known when I moved here that the balls may come across the fence.
right there in one of them.
I said, that's true, but I said, how about if I come to your house with a baseball bat and some balls and I knock some balls off your house? Then you should have known I might come and do that when you bought that house, shouldn't you?
Next day I got a call from the borough lady saying that this gentleman had called down and really is mad because the ball, he had his granddaughter, had his granddaughter on the swing set at the time the home run was hit, and the ball almost hit his granddaughter. And he was pretty upset about that. So she suggested I call him, which I did. And I talked to him, and it's like he was pretty ticked off. He says, well, that ball almost hit my granddaughter during the game, you know. Almost hit her while she was on the swing set. He says, what should I do about it?
But I said, the big thing that makes me mad is that a kid almost got hit. My brother-in-law's, his son, wouldn't come across and broke the sunroof on his car. And he even called the cops to see what he could do about it. They said nothing because it's ball field. So it cost him a sunroof in his car. And he was really mad about it. I don't blame him, you know. If you park your car somewhere where it's an illegal parking space, I don't see why your stuff should be busted up. And so when it's night and they're playing any games at all, we bring the kids in because I ain't gonna chance it. A ball come across that fence with the speed it's got, man, it could kill a kid. It could kill a grown-up probably, you know what I mean? So we just got to bring them in, you know, just for safety reasons. Now, we're out there, we're grown up, but we could get hit too. But, you know, if we get hit, we probably ain't going to tell you near as hard as the kid would.
I said, well, I don't know. I said, I can't stop the ball game because you have your granddaughter on a swing. I said, what I would suggest is maybe if you want to put her on the swing set during the ball game, maybe stand there with a baseball glove.
Like they said, now I don't know, but my wife said when they put the new ball up that somebody told her that they dropped it blocked. I never paid no attention to exactly how high it was.
The only thing I can recommend you doing, because I can't stop a ball game because, you know, your granddaughter's on the swing. When I said, well, he says, you wouldn't like it if I come over to your house and hit balls off of your aluminum siding, would you? I said, no, I wouldn't like that. I said, what's your point? He says, well, my garage there is all aluminum siding. It's all banged up from balls hitting it. I said, no, I wouldn't like that. But I said, when did you move here? He said, well, I bought this in 1990. I said, well, was the ball field there when you bought it? He says, yeah. I said, well, what did you expect when you bought the house? What did you expect? It's a ball field. Did you expect us to graze, cattle grazed over here? I mean, it's a ball field.
I started playing between my sophomore and junior year in high school. I was on the roster, but I wasn't actually a part of the team yet because our high school team was still playing. One night I was sitting at the supper table, and the manager at that time was Penny Smith, and he came down the alley behind our house and stopped in and knocked on the door, and we were eating supper, and he had a uniform there for me. He said, we have a guy that's hurt, and you're going to start at first base tonight for Windsor. And I was speechless. I mean, I was just thrilled to death to even have a uniform, and to go over and play with these guys was really something. When I went over there, all my buddies were just saying, man, you got a uniform, are you going to... I said, yeah, I'm starting at first base tonight. That's what they told me, and that's kind of how I started. I don't really remember how I did. I know we won, and the guys were all really nice. Of course, I knew who they were. They didn't really know me very well. I don't really remember if my uniform fit me well or not because I didn't really care. All I knew is I had a uniform with Windsor on, and and I was playing first base. And then I played for, I think, 20 years I played. And it was a great time. I loved it. The attendance wasn't quite as good when I started playing as it was, in the 50s. When I was a kid, I remember going to the ball games, and the grandstand was just packed. People standing around the field. It was just what you did on a Saturday afternoon. If the Windsor ball team played away, the players would all meet at the ball diamond to kind of carpool. and us kids we'd try to hitch a ride with some of them. And I know that one time, me and another couple other guys, we got in a car with one of the players, and I think it was Hammer Snyder, and they played at Lucky. Now most people don't even know where Lucky is, much less Lucky having a ball team, but they did, and they had a field. It was down 74, close to broke. And that Saturday afternoon, I got in the car and went down to the ball game and came back and went home, and my dad said, "Where were you?" I said, "I was in Lucky at a ball game." And it was not really a big deal that I did that afternoon. He knew I was with one of the players, and that was okay. When there was a ball game, we of course would run foul balls. You got 10 cents for a foul ball. One of the things you tried to do was to keep the ball out of the creek, because if the ball went in the creek, then you couldn't use it anymore. If you were really lucky, you got to be a bat boy. And your pay as a bat boy was you got a broken bat from one of the players. If they broke their bats, they kept them in a place, and if you were a bat boy, you got a broken bat. You taped it up or tacked it with some little nails, and that was also quite a thrill. And when the ball games were over, we used to run the bases before they take the bases in, and if it was still light out, we'd try to get a ball game going after the regular games. I know that the people that sat in the grandstand, actually when they paid their admission, they got a scorecard, and it just had a little place where you could keep score if you wanted to, and of course some advertisements, and then that's what you sat on when you were sitting in the grandstand, so I guess you didn't get dirt. The grandstand was really the really different part of our ballpark, because the people were right down on the field, and you could hear everything they'd say, and they said a lot of things. I do remember, and this goes back a ways, but there actually at one time was a radio booth on top of the grandstand. And I guess the radio announcers would somehow crawl out on the roof and go up into this booth, and it was right behind home plate up on top of the grandstand, and broadcast games. We used to go up there as kids and just play around, but I don't know if I ever saw a game being broadcast there, but that's what they told me it was for, and it was up there. I was fortunate enough to play a lot of sports in high school and in college, but playing baseball at Windsor and in the Susquehanna League was one of the most enjoyable things I think I ever did.
If you want to know anything about this field, you come down and listen to the ground rule. Okay.
You're black.
Call me whatever you want, thanks. Never held you back before. Never held you back before. Good to see you again, sir.
Marty?
Hey, how are you? Good. Into the new year. Jeff?
Marty, how are you?
All right, brother. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
I heard you were down here. Hey, Coach.
Right. Congratulations.
Good.
Hey, Jeff.
How you doing?
Well, down the right field line there, you see where the fence ends? About halfway down the right field line. We take a straight line back to the creek, and the creek's out of play. So you can't come around that fence and make a catch.
Okay.
All right. Then we play the creek as the out of play.
All right.
Down to the red cones.
All right.
All right. Where the red cones are, we play that as out of play. So any ball getting past there, or catch and carry rule, guy catches it and slides down in there, or a ball rolling down in that area is dead.
Okay.
All right. Over the fence or over the wall is a home run. Ball getting through the fence, under the fence, 2 bases. Ball bouncing over the wall will be 2 bases. Where the big wall ends, there's a little wall out there. We play it like an extension of the big wall. So anything in that creek on a fly is a home run. Bouncing over the creek is 2 bases. All right.
If you hit on top of that fence, that's like hitting on the top of the fence. That would be a home run.
Just
ball
like a wall.
Also. It's just like a wall. Just like a wall. On top of a fence. Very good,
sir.
Wall.
Very
good.
All right. In center field, anything over the red fencing is a home run. Hitting off the top of the barns and coming back into play is playable. Hitting off the top of the barns and going to the red fencing area will be a home run.
Okay.
All right. Ball rolling under the barns is 2 bases. All right. A ball going past them 2 red cones there, that's a walkway there, 2 bases.
Okay.
The white wall there, anything hitting behind there on a fly, that's a carport behind there. Anything hitting behind that white wall on a fly is a home run. Rolling up into that area is 2 bases. Anything hitting behind that white wall and that carport on a fly is a home run. But if a ball rolls up into that area, it's 2 bases. And then in left field, the road in left field is High Street. Any ball hitting on the road on a fly is a home run. If it rolls up on the road, it's 2 bases. But if it hits those trees out there in left field, I mean, you could hit a heck of a blast, but if it hits those trees, if it goes through the trees and hits on the road on a fly, it's still a home run. But if it hits the trees and comes down, you just play it. And if it gets in that brush out there, you got to go dig it out and find it. The guy just keeps running. So, you know, that's happened. And in fact, that happened just this year. The other team really, the left fielder really didn't know the ground rules. And a ball was hit out there and it hit in the trees and it just dropped down in some of that brush out there. And they looked at it, but they didn't know to go get it. And our guy just, Nate Newman, our big home run hitter, he just circled the bases for a home run, you know. So that's how it was. The foul pole's not the end of the playing field. You got the bank behind it. This side of the road closest to the playing field is the end of the playing field. You got a gap here, and you got a gap up there where the fence goes back. Anything getting through there would be book rule.
Everything's playable though in front of the scoreboard.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Ball could hit foul or hit fair,
Yep,
go foul, and be behind that fence. They can throw over dead territory to get here to home plate.
Okay.
Okay. Ball could get behind one of these tarps here. That'd be a book rule on that too. Okay. All right.
All right.
Any questions?
I think we're good.
That is white stone out there.
That's white stone, yeah. No, it's cement.
No, I couldn't tell from here.
How else we got to keep the road up?
Could be.
Dale, you got to keep the road up somehow. You got to put cement out there. So yeah, ball could hit that cement and bounce back.
It could be flowers blooming or something. I think it looks great like that. But that was good.
Yeah.
Keep them hopping, guys. Praise the Lord to be here today. Let's have some fun. Go ahead.
Sometimes it's good to just go in the backyard and watch the ball game.
I don't know what they consider home run fence or nothing. Balls come clean up to the house even when they're playing.
We'll run that other red fence up to here. So that's why we say anything that hits the house is a home run.
You know, I'll pick it up and hand it to the ball player, and he throws it in.
One out.
It's just my backyard.
And the only thing ever happens is he has some guys around here that come out here and sit out here around the carport and watches the ball game with him.
When they play over here and I watch the ball game, that's all I do. I make sure I mow my yard. They can't find the ball.
Well, I remember back when Windsor really had a good Twilight League team. I believe they won the pennant in 47, 48. And one of their players would hit. I remember hitting a ball that house out there in the center field. It hit about halfway up in that house. Although I hear that one of the two of the players they have now actually hit up in the roof of that house, or over that house. I don't know if you know Nate Newman. I should give you that name or something.
That fly! I seen them fly over the roof here.
Hammer Snyder. He lived up on the hill there. He was probably one of the better ball players ever. He still probably holds one of the records in the Susquehanna League for home runs, but they used to kid him about he tied on sliding pads and never slid. In the 30 years he played baseball, he never slid. But he always played right field. They said Hammer couldn't go back, so he played right field and play the ball off. At that time, that was a wooden fence. It's concrete now, but at that time, it was a wooden fence down over there.
When we were kids, we were practically raised on the Windsor Diamond. You know, we were over there playing ball and stuff and everything, which how you get your starts, you know. Windsor had a junior team, but when the Twilight League, and they had a junior team, what they called the Eastern League. A lot of people didn't know that. They had teams Hell and Wild Hill, teams like that was in it. Then after, of course, I played with them a couple of years, then I went up to it's like a farm team, you know. Then went up to the Twilight team. Went in the Navy till 32 months. Till it'd be 45, I guess. And I got out, then I come back and started playing again. Then I got a little heavier, then I changed positions.
I met Red in 1949, and they were in the championship playoff in at the York Fairground.
The York
and
White Rose.
Wanted, something for good luck. So I had my medal, my nursing medal, from Episcopal Hospital, and I gave it to him. And he won the game. And he didn't want to give my medal back. But it was my identification.
I probably could have played a little bit. Our family was getting bigger, you know, then we had a lot of other commitments.
The year my husband was home run king, I was pregnant with our first child. And when he would come up to bat, I would say to him, hit it over the fence and I'll name it after you. We now have a Donald Howard Jr.
Okay, listen up. Now look, we're lean this year. Okay, we'll play some ball, we're going to play some ball. Now we got to have communication. I got to know when you're not going to be there. We're lean. The team you're going to play. Now, you ain't going to play every game. If you're not in the lineup, don't worry. You're going to be needed the next game, you know, the next whatever. You're going to play maybe that game, next game, whatever. Okay? But, you know, don't go all bent out of shape. Because we're going to need every one of us. We've got guys that are working shifts that we never know what's going on. And the guy on the boat down in Philly, he's here 1 week. This is the next week. So, you're all going to get to play a lot of ball. With Matty, center field, Willie will bat second on second, Newman third base, Rick fourth, right field, Stout fifth pitch, Petrobone sixth, left field, Luke seventh, first base, Runkle eighth, shortstop, Zach ninth, catch. Well, I was waiting for them to turn the fire horn on. That's sort of our rally cry, but you know, our guy gets a hit, and you know, we bunt it, you know, and they throw it away at first. And I saw the right fielder going after the ball. I knew Tyler's speed. I figured he could beat it. You know, I was going to send him because, you know, he's really fast. I figured he could make it. No, he did. So got a break. They played a good game. We played a good game. That's how it's supposed to be. You know, we probably draw better than anybody. You know, and we'll see what our collection was today, but it's probably pretty good. We'll see if we sold out of hamburgers. If we did, that was a good day. I'm the creek guy, and if the ball goes over the creek and all that, I gotta go dig them out. Ain't too bad on right-handers. Who put the can opener in the ball box?